Ron DeSantis was being criticized for not commenting on the potential Trump indictment. People were saying this was a failure of leadership, that he should have spoken out a little bit more quickly. But now he is speaking out. It's Monday, and we're learning a little bit more about the details. One of the reasons why you might say he does not want to speak out is because we don't know the details on this thing. And that was true yesterday. We heard from CNN that there was very likely going to be another witness presented in front of the grand jury today. And then depending on who that witness is and how they vote in the grand jury, he may not even be indicted. So we were speculating about that Tuesday number. Is Trump actually going to be indicted on or arrested on Tuesday? I was thinking that was more like a self-surrender date, because we've seen a lot of those historically. I've done those. I've had clients communicated with prosecutors and police to agree upon a self-surrender date. And when Trump said, "Oh, it's Tuesday," I was like, "Oh, well, they have a date. It must be like Tuesday at noon, Tuesday at 10 a.m. down in New York City, police department, wherever they're meeting." So was that the reality? Or maybe he is not going to get indicted. Maybe the vote takes place today and the grand jury comes back and it's a no bill. There's no further charges that move forward. We don't know. So you could make the argument that DeSantis was delaying until he got all the facts. But regardless, this is Ron DeSantis responding to Donald Trump's potential indictment.
We wanted to know what your thoughts are on the rumored Trump indictment, and if you have any role in it. If charges are brought on him, will you have any role in extradition to New York?
So I've seen rumors swirl. I have not seen any facts yet, and so I don't know what's going to happen. But I do know this: the Manhattan District Attorney is a Soros-funded prosecutor, and so he, like other Soros-funded prosecutors, they weaponize their office to impose a political agenda on society at the expense of the rule of law and public safety. He has downgraded over 50% of the felonies to misdemeanors. He says he doesn't want to even have jail time for the vast, vast majority of crimes.
But in this case, he's escalating what very likely would be a misdemeanor into a felony, right? He's talking about trying to find a statute that will take it out of misdemeanor world and bring it into felony land. Misdemeanors are a lower level offense, and so they've got much shorter statute of limitations, which means if you don't bring the criminal charges within a certain period of time, you lose the opportunity to do that. So if Trump is being prosecuted on a misdemeanor, time's up, time's expired, doesn't have any more time to do that. So they've got to go find another felony charge. And as we were looking at the statute yesterday, Section, I think 175.10 New York, falsifying a business record, they classified that as a Class E felony, which is probably, and I'm not a licensed lawyer in New York, but probably the lowest or close to the lowest tier of felonies that exist in the state of New York. One of the speculative charges would be this one, Class E, nonviolent felony, potential penalties, no jail, probation of about 1 to 1/3 to 4 years. So in a misdemeanor case, right, if this was one category lower, it would be a misdemeanor and they would lose the statute of limitations. They would lose the ability to charge him. So they're scraping, they're scrambling. Can we please find anything? And as we heard yesterday from Alvin Bragg, some of the people in his office, the Washington Post was reporting that it's sort of chaos. He lost prosecutors whose entire career and identity was wrapped up in prosecuting Trump. I mean, part of the reason why they wanted to be there, I'm sure, go take out Donald. And then when Alvin Bragg said they weren't going to do that, they bailed.
And what we've seen in Manhattan is we've seen the crime rate go up, and we've seen citizens become less safe. And so you're talking about this situation with, and look, I don't know what goes into paying hush money to a porn star to secure silence over some type of alleged affair. I can't speak to that. But what I can...
they're laughing in the crowd. They're laughing. So this is the same strategy that we saw from Mike Pence yesterday. They'll almost come out and defend Trump while simultaneously dunking on him. No, I don't know. I mean, I don't see that he did anything wrong. But again, I don't know much about sleeping with porn stars and paying them $130,000 to keep them silent when I'm preparing to run for a campaign. I don't know how that works, but based on what I'm seeing now, I'm not real sure what to say about it. But Maybe you should talk to him, the guy who paid, $130,000 to a porn star to silence her. Maybe go ask him about that payment.
Speak to is that if you have a prosecutor
They're still laughing,
who is ignoring crimes happening every single day in his jurisdiction, and he chooses to go back many, many years ago to try to use something about porn star hush money payments.
Wow, again.
That's an example of pursuing a political agenda and weaponizing the office. And I think that that's fundamentally wrong.
You don't need to say all of that stuff, right? If you're somebody who is just dedicated to, the principle that it's a problem to have political candidates prosecuted by partisan political opponent hacks, if you just stand on that principle and just say, I don't need to take digs at him on this. I don't need to slam dunk this. All I can tell you is that prosecuting political opponents in this country dips below the acceptable standards of conduct in America. It's not appropriate at all. It's going to create more division. It's going to create more disunity. We're trying to create a stronger country, not a weaker country. And prosecuting your political enemies is something that takes place in third world countries, and I will never let that happen here. But I don't know any more details about that, and talk to Trump about it. If I'm elected, I would ensure that the DOJ embodies a concept called equal protection of the law and so on, right? Go on that rant on it. But he's not doing that. Boy, knives are out now. This is the primary season, you can tell, because he is going to be knifing, twisting. Oh no, I really love due process of the law. And I also agree that due process should be applicable to people who pay off porn stars, especially $130,000.
I also think it's important to point out when you're talking about these Soros-funded prosecutors, yes, they may do a high-profile politicized prosecution, and that's bad, but the real victims are ordinary New Yorkers, ordinary Americans in all these different jurisdictions, that they get victimized every day because of the reckless political agenda that these Soros DAs bring to their job. They ignore crime and they empower criminals, and that hurts people.
That's the higher
a lot of
ground,
people
right?
Every single day. The Soros district attorneys
That's
are
the
a
higher
menace to
level answer.
society, and I'm just glad that I'm the only governor in the country that's actually removed one from office during my tenure.
So is he going to announce or what?
And in terms of we are not involved in this, won't be involved in this. I have no interest in getting involved in some type of manufactured circus by some Soros DA, okay? He's trying to do...
It's interesting because he is perfectly okay getting involved in other circuses. And I like Ron DeSantis as a potential candidate, right? He hasn't announced yet. I think he's going to. But I like competent people who deliver good, competent results, and it sounds like Florida's doing well. So I like the idea that he is somebody on our side who is throwing his hat into the ring. But he does like a circus. Like, let's be clear about this, right? I mean, he's saying I don't get into circuses here, just to be fair and make sure we're thorough on this. He's a big circus guy. He circused up the heck out of the Martha's Vineyard thing, and he would circus up as much as he can. But he's not going to circus this one up because it doesn't help him personally, right? It helps Trump if he gets involved in this. And he would rather, we've said this many times here on the show, true happiness is seeing your neighbor who you don't like fall off his roof. That neighbor who, his dog or his trash cans or whatever the problem is, you're watching him up there and he falls off the roof. And well, that's pretty good. You're sitting there, watching your neighbor fall off the roof. It's not my phrase. I didn't make it up. I heard that somewhere else. But the point is, that's kind of what Ron DeSantis is doing right now. His neighbor is about to fall off the roof, and he's like, well, this is pretty nice. I guess I'll just sit here, and just enjoy my tea. So that is a nice excuse to not get involved, but we all know the real reason.
Do a political spectacle. He's trying to virtue signal for his base. I've got real issues I got to deal with here in the state of Florida. We're obviously shutting down CBDC, which is important. We've got so many things pending in front of the legislature. I've got to spend my time on issues that actually matter to people. I can't spend my time worrying about things of that nature. So we're not going to be involved in it in any way. I'm fighting for Floridians, and I'm fighting back against Biden. That's what I do every single day.
So very interesting response there from Ron. And it does feel very, very scripted and calculated. I'm wondering why it took until a Monday for him to respond to this. I don't know if his team was busy drafting up a statement that would thread the needle. But it sounds like they're not, if Trump is indicted and they want to go extradite him and deliver a search warrant or deliver an actual arrest warrant in the state of New York, if New York issues it, will the state of Florida honor it? And it sounds like Ron's just going to say, I'm not even involved in the process. So whatever Trump's lawyers want to do, if they want to challenge extradition, they can certainly do that. We've seen how these things have gone historically. I don't know if they would actually arrest Trump on this. I mean, it's a low-level felony. Would they come and arrest him in New York, or would he self-surrender? If he does get indicted, the smarter way to go about this for Trump, in my opinion, would not to be to fight it, would just to say, okay, I'm the victim of this criminal prosecution, and just show up, put the handcuffs on, take the mugshot, spread that all around, and see what happens. I think it would go a lot further than him sitting in Florida, them trying to come and conduct an arrest, him filing a motion to quash the arrest warrant, fighting it in court, challenging extradition, getting a judge involved. I said, Trump, just show up, put the handcuffs on, see what happens. It'll be a big reaction to that. And then I don't know how guys like DeSantis are going to be, how are they going to rise above that? How do they look like defenders of justice? I mean, it's probably my biggest issue, if I can be honest about it. It's like free speech. It's the weaponization of the Justice Department. It's using the levers of government. It's a huge umbrella, so it covers a lot. But it's using the strong arm of the government to take away our civil liberties actionably, right? I mean, right in front of our faces, by censoring us online, by prosecuting people who don't deserve to be prosecuted with different standards. It chills the speech, it chills the movement, it chills all activity. It puts pressure on your free association, on your free expression. That's what this whole weaponization is all about. I mean, people are not going to support Trump because they're shell-shocked and, suffering PTSD from J6. People aren't even going to text their friends about, this is ridiculous what Trump did. A lot of people will I'm just going to avoid the whole thing because of J6, because they were traumatized by what our federal government did. And my point is, it captures a lot of protected speech. It chills a lot of the other things that we should be protecting and cherishing. And when guys like Ron and other politicians, they just say, it's not my problem, it's somebody else's problem. I'm thinking, you guys are really foolish on this, because it will be your problem at some point. Okay, nobody thought that they were going to indict presidential candidates anytime soon. I never thought that they were going to raid his house, but it has happened. And, Ron DeSantis, unless he's really, really protected as part of the swamp or whatever, and he knows, I'm not going to be the subject of any potential criminality or any inquisition, because I'm essentially on the side of the, there's one coin with two sides. If he's on that side, then he knows that he won't face the same inquisition that Trump has faced, because he's not an outsider. That's why he doesn't care and stand up for it. But I don't think it's a good strategy. I think it's actually disappointing. But that's Ron DeSantis, and you can understand why he's doing it. I do understand it, because it is primary season, and he is going to be fighting hard to win it, as he should. Politics is a blood sport,